WSAV is your local election headquarters. We are just over 24 hours away from the polls closing in Georgia's primary election, and candidates across Georgia are making their final push to voters.
Two Republican candidates spent the day in Savannah rallying supporters and sharpening their message on issues like the economy and public safety. WSAV's Nakaya Harris is on the campaign trail.
I will never embarrass you, and I'll work hard. Everyone knows that, and I will win.
I am the only Republican candidate that can win in November.
With Election Day just hours away, Republican candidates are making their closing arguments to voters in what could be a high turnout primary. Congressman Buddy Carter, who's running for U.S. Senate, focused heavily on aligning himself with President Donald Trump and conservative priorities during his final push across the state.
We need someone in the United States Senate who's going to support President Trump and his America First policies. And that's what I've done in the House, and that's what I'm going to do in the Senate.
Carter also leaned into hot-button issues.
I do not want my granddaughters competing against a biological male in sports. I don't want a biological male in their locker room. Those are not Georgia values. On the economy, things are improving. Yes, gas prices are high, and we feel that. Trust me, as much as we drive around the state, we feel that. We understand it. But at the same time, as soon as this conflict with Iran is over with, gas prices will go back down.
Meanwhile, Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, who's running for governor, centered his campaign message around affordability, economic growth, and public safety.
When I'm governor, we're going to focus on workforce and education and literacy and infrastructure. I mean, here we are, the ports of Savannah and Brunswick, just economic engines. We're going to continue to invest in it. We're going to have the lowest tax burden of any state in the nation.
Carr also argues Republicans must appeal beyond the party base.
The only way you win in November in Georgia in 2026 is to be able to appeal to the ever-growing independent voter in this state. And they care about jobs, safety, education, affordability.
Nakaya Harris, WSAV News 3, on your side.
One of the Democratic candidates for governor in Georgia also making a stop in Savannah today to meet with voters ahead of the primary tomorrow. Former State Senator Jason Estevez hosted a breakfast campaign event where he answered questions about issues ranging from health care to housing. Estevez says his campaign is focused on lowering the cost of living for Georgians and creating what he calls a new generation of leadership. Today, he also called for greater accountability for data centers and large corporations receiving tax incentives, saying more support should go towards small businesses and working families.
Represent a new generation of leadership, one that is laser focused on delivering results, making sure that we address issues that have been plaguing this state for a generation. Healthcare, economic opportunity, and investing in education so that our children have more opportunities than what we've had.
Another Democratic gubernatorial candidate made a stop in the hostess city Saturday. Former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms continued her Our Rights, Our Future tour in Savannah at Front Porch Improv. She talked with voters, also took their questions. Bottoms noted that coastal Georgia is an important piece in the race to be Georgia's next governor.
So glad to be back in Savannah, and you know, we are moving around the state. South Georgia is very important, especially coastal Georgia, to this election. That's the reason that we're making it a part of our last week. We've already seen a record turnout with early voting, but we want to keep that momentum going through Election Day for Democrats.
Bottoms also noted that current national events like the ongoing battle over redistricting highlights the importance of showing up and voting in every election.
And Georgians are doing just that this primary season. State election officials say they are seeing a record turnout for the primary, with more than 1 million people already casting their ballot. That works out to just under 14% of active voters. In Chatham County, the turnout is about 11%, with 23,000 ballots cast and more than twice as many Democratic ballots as Republican ones in the early voting period. More than 500 nonpartisan ballots were cast. Meanwhile, Bulloch County saw a turnout of 9% during the early voting period. Bryan Liberty County about 14%. McIntosh saw nearly 20% turnout. We're going to focus on South Carolina now. Lawmakers there returning to Columbia today as the special session on redistricting continued. The push to redraw the map comes less than a month before the primary. Statewide, the last primary broke down to 48% Republican voters, 41% Democratic. The remaining 11% were independent. Some Republican leaders say this effort is about more than partisanship, it's about fairness, but some civil rights groups believe it disenfranchises minority voters. The State House is required to make a decision by next Tuesday, May 26th. That is the first day of early voting.
Primary election day in Georgia is tomorrow. Now the polls will open at 7 a.m., closing at 7 p.m. For more information about this year's election, you can go to wsav.com/electionhq.
Continuing coverage now, just days after being granted a new trial from the South Carolina Supreme Court, Alec Murdaugh has filed a civil lawsuit against former Colleton County Clerk of Court Becky Hill. The civil suit filed today by Murdaugh's team says that Hill violated Murdaugh's constitutional right to a fair trial. Murdaugh is seeking punitive damages and attorney's fees totaling $600,000. This stems from allegations that Hill, in her role as clerk, tampered with several jurors in Murdaugh's murder trial, which impacted the outcome. Those allegations formed the basis of the state Supreme Court's decision to grant him a new trial. While Hill denied any jury tampering during the appeals hearing, she resigned from office in March of 2024, a year after the verdict. You can read the full lawsuit at WSAV.com.
New at 6, a soldier from Fort Stewart arrested after allegations of child molestation surfaced, and this stretches back to 2017. The Coffee County Sheriff's Office says 26-year-old Tyrone Carter Jr. was arrested Friday and has been charged with aggravated child molestation. Deputies say they responded to a home in Douglas back in February after reports of sexual assault over the past 9 years. Well, during their investigation, multiple victims came forward alleging incidents from their childhoods. Carter was detained on base at Fort Stewart, transported to Coffee County. Anyone with information, or if you know someone who may have been a victim, you're asked to call the sheriff's office there. That number, 912-384-4227.
You need to know the city of Richmond Hill has issued a boil water advisory for parts of the city due to a broken line during a service relocation. So portions of Cherry Laurel Way and Dublin Drive are impacted. During a boil water advisory, residents are urged to use boiled tap water or bottled water for drinking, brushing teeth, food prep, or making ice. Gas prices climbing over the past month, and local Savannah businesses are feeling the impact. The Georgia Queen Riverboat is one of these businesses. It's able to hold around 10,000 gallons of diesel at a time. Each time they fill up, they typically buy about 4,500 gallons, and that costs about $40,000. Jonathan Claughton with the River Street Riverboat Company says prices have risen about $2 since March, almost doubling the price of their biweekly fill-up. Although they have been able to absorb these costs for now, he worries that gas prices will affect summer travel.
Fuel relates to all the products we buy and transportation and so forth. So, it's not just the fuel price, actual diesel that we're buying. It also affects many of the products, groceries, transportation, getting supplies.
Even though the prices aren't directly impacting this business now, they say they hope gas prices do go down soon.
Just into the WSAV newsroom, Bulloch County Schools just approved the sole finalist for the district's top position. Bulloch County Board of Education called a special session this evening and unanimously approved Dr. Torian White as the one and only finalist for the superintendent position. White is a native of Effingham County and right now serves as the principal at his alma mater, South Effingham High School. He also served as principal of Southeast Bulloch Middle School from 2014 to 2019. Now, this move comes after Charles Wilson retired earlier this year. He spent 14 years in the district as superintendent. WSAV's Evan Smoke was at that meeting, and he will have additional coverage of the hiring process. You'll find that tonight, or see it, I should say, here on WSAV at 10 and 11.
Now, Time Saver Traffic, sponsored by Arrowhead Clinic. The accident doctors, where it pays to get well.
Well, thank you. Thankfully, for our Monday commute, we haven't been dealing with many major issues. There was a small accident just past Chatham Parkway, slowing things down just a bit on the westbound side of Interstate 16, taking 16 minutes right now to get to Pooler from downtown Savannah. Weather-wise, nothing to slow us down. We have very low-end shower chances for the next couple of days, but those chances increase going into the weekend. We'll talk about that and hotter temperatures coming up.